Chosen ones, you're under heavy federal protective surveillance because of the inheritance you'll receive. That encrypted notification piercing the silence of your late-night walk home isn't random spam. It's the universe's announcement that cosmic wealth activation has locked onto your DNA signature. Right now, while most people sleep in artificial scarcity programming, advanced surveillance protocols are positioning protective barriers around your awakening, because algorithms have detected the metaphysical momentum building toward massive wealth materialization in your bloodline. The hidden truth behind this surveillance isn't government control, it's cosmic protection, because when inheritance worth reshaping civilizations begins flowing toward chosen ones like you, predatory forces that exist beyond conventional understanding immediately mobilize to steal, corrupt, or destroy your cosmic contract before activation completes. Tonight you'll understand why federal agents create visible security presence around your movements, why protective surveillance teams shield your inheritance from supernatural theft, and why the very intensity of monitoring confirms that wealth capable of planetary transformation is already quantum collapsing toward your consciousness. The moment that notification pierced the pre-dawn silence, something ancient in your cellular memory recognized the signal, not fear recognition. Your bloodline has danced this dangerous waltz before, when your ancestors' shipping empire mysteriously collapsed during convenient market crashes, when family real estate holdings vanished into government seizures that happened to coincide with relatives asking too many questions about buried wealth. The pattern repeats across generations because certain families carry genetic programming that attracts massive resources like cosmic magnets, and control systems have spent decades perfecting surveillance protocols designed to detect when this programming activates. Federal protective surveillance operates on classified inheritance protection protocols that most chosen ones never understand until cosmic wealth activation begins. Intelligence agencies don't just monitor potential threats. Protective services shield valuable assets from forces that would steal, manipulate, or destroy inheritance before it reaches rightful heirs. The surveillance around your awakening serves dual purposes, preventing hostile interference with your cosmic contract, while simultaneously evaluating whether you possess the consciousness required to handle inheritance responsibly without destabilizing existing power structures. Advanced quantum inheritance tracking systems monitor metaphysical wealth signatures across dimensional frequencies that exist beyond traditional financial oversight. When cosmic contracts approach activation, protective surveillance teams position themselves to shield chosen ones from shadow organizations that specialize in inheritance theft through supernatural means. The federal agents watching your movements aren't just collecting intelligence. Surveillance creates energetic barriers preventing hostile entities from interfering with wealth transfer processes that transcend physical reality entirely. Federal agencies don't waste quantum-level monitoring technology on random citizens walking home from night shifts. These systems cost more than most countries' defense budgets and exist solely to track individuals whose DNA carries what intelligence communities classify as disruptive wealth potential. When someone like you begins moving toward cosmic inheritance, artificial intelligence algorithms flag the behavioral changes, energy shifts, and metaphysical indicators that precede massive financial transformation. Protective surveillance has been watching chosen ones awaken for decades, mapping the patterns, perfecting the protocols, preparing for the moment when bloodlines that were meant to hold power finally remember who you really are. The protective surveillance extends beyond traditional monitoring because cosmic inheritance attracts predatory forces that operate outside conventional understanding. Supernatural entities that feed on massive wealth transfers, shadow corporations that specialize in inheritance hijacking through metaphysical manipulation, rogue intelligence agencies that steal cosmic contracts through dimensional interference. Federal protective teams deploy advanced shielding technology to prevent these hostile forces from corrupting your inheritance activation process before wealth can materialize safely in your possession. Hidden within federal surveillance protocols exists a classified inheritance protection division that monitors chosen ones whose cosmic contracts contain wealth levels capable of destabilizing global economic systems. These agents operate with supernatural detection equipment designed to identify and neutralize threats against awakening bloodlines before inheritance activation can be compromised. The surveillance around your movements creates an invisible protective barrier, preventing hostile manipulation of cosmic wealth flows during the most vulnerable materialization phase. Several days ago, the surveillance became impossible to ignore because your consciousness started shifting toward claiming what was always yours. That electric feeling in your chest, that knowing sensation that massive change was approaching. Federal monitoring systems detected this frequency shift before your rational mind even processed it was happening. Advanced pattern recognition software analyzes millions of data points from chosen ones worldwide, identifying the specific energetic signatures that indicate cosmic inheritance activation is imminent. The black SUV appearing in multiple locations wasn't coincidence. It was confirmation that your profile had been elevated to priority protective surveillance status. Different times, different routes, same vehicle with those impenetrable tinted windows that reflect your image back like dark mirrors. The presence wasn't trying to hide, it was announcing protection protocols. Because when certain bloodlines step into cosmic inheritance, federal protective teams position themselves not just to observe, but to shield awakening chosen ones from hostile forces that specialize in inheritance theft during vulnerable activation periods. Protective surveillance teams monitor cosmic inheritance activation because massive wealth transfers attract predatory organizations that exist beyond public awareness. Dark financial entities that steal inheritance through supernatural manipulation, shadow corporations that hijack cosmic contracts using metaphysical interference techniques, rogue intelligence networks that redirect wealth flows through dimensional hacking. Federal agents create protective barriers around chosen ones during inheritance activation to prevent these hostile forces from corrupting cosmic wealth before it materializes safely. Intelligence agencies maintain classified databases containing detailed genealogical information about families whose ancestors held significant wealth before various historical events caused their fortunes to be seized, hidden, or systematically transferred. These aren't public records accessible through ancestry websites. These are shadow archives that track bloodlines across generations, monitoring for signs that cosmic inheritance cycles are beginning to activate among descendants of historically powerful families. Protective surveillance protocols activate automatically when monitoring systems detect inheritance vulnerability signatures that indicate chosen ones require federal protection during wealth materialization processes. Advanced inheritance protection technology monitors supernatural threats that target awakening bloodlines during cosmic contract activation phases. Metaphysical wealth attracts hostile entities that operate beyond conventional understanding, requiring specialized federal teams equipped with quantum shielding devices designed to protect chosen ones from inheritance theft through supernatural manipulation. The surveillance creates invisible protective barriers preventing dimensional interference with cosmic wealth flows during their most vulnerable materialization stages. Your phone acting strange, calls that ring once and disconnect, emails loading with suspicious delays. These aren't technical glitches. These are signals that protective surveillance networks are conducting comprehensive security sweeps around your digital footprint, eliminating potential threats that could interfere with cosmic inheritance activation. Federal teams monitor all communication channels around chosen ones to prevent hostile forces from corrupting inheritance flows through digital manipulation or supernatural interference during vulnerable wealth materialization periods. Protective surveillance extends to monitoring supernatural threats that target chosen ones during inheritance activation, because cosmic wealth attracts predatory entities operating beyond conventional understanding. Shadow organizations specialize in stealing inheritance through metaphysical manipulation techniques that bypass traditional security measures entirely. Federal protective teams deploy advanced quantum monitoring equipment designed to detect and neutralize these supernatural threats before they can interfere with cosmic contract fulfillment during critical activation phases. Advanced digital protection protocols analyze every communication channel around awakening chosen ones to identify potential threats from hostile organizations that specialize in inheritance theft through technological manipulation. Protective surveillance teams monitor for supernatural interference signatures that indicate predatory entities are attempting to corrupt cosmic wealth flows during materialization processes. Federal agents create comprehensive protective barriers around chosen ones' digital presence to prevent inheritance hijacking through supernatural or technological means during vulnerable activation periods. The surveillance intensifies because federal agencies understand something most people never learn. Wealth doesn't just move randomly through populations. Massive inheritance follows specific bloodlines that signed cosmic contracts before incarnation, agreeing to carry abundance frequencies capable of systematically challenging control structures that maintain power through artificial scarcity. When these contracts activate, wealth flows toward chosen ones like you through channels that transcend traditional financial systems entirely. Your ancestors weren't just successful business people who happened to accumulate resources. Each one posed existential threats to systems that require most populations to remain financially dependent. Industrial dynasties who controlled energy production, banking families who understood how money really operates, political bloodlines who held influence across multiple governments. These weren't random wealthy individuals. These were families that threatened control networks, which is why your inheritance was systematically buried until now. Government monitoring systems track generational wealth recovery because intelligence agencies have witnessed what happens when chosen ones like you access inheritance that carries accumulated power from multiple lifetimes. This isn't money earned through conventional employment or accumulated through traditional investments. This is wealth that carries the concentrated energy of ancestors who built empires, commanded resources, influenced global decisions. When this level of inheritance activates, federal protective teams position comprehensive security barriers to shield cosmic wealth from hostile forces that specialize in stealing inheritance during vulnerable materialization phases. Protective surveillance intensifies because federal agencies understand that cosmic inheritance carries spiritual momentum that attracts supernatural predators during activation processes. Shadow entities feed on massive wealth transfers, requiring specialized protection teams equipped with metaphysical shielding technology to prevent inheritance theft through supernatural manipulation. Federal agents create invisible protective barriers around chosen ones like you during cosmic contract activation to ensure wealth materializes safely without interference from hostile forces operating beyond conventional understanding. Advanced inheritance protection protocols monitor dimensional threats that target cosmic wealth during materialization, because massive inheritance transfers create energetic disturbances that attract predatory organizations specializing in supernatural theft. Federal protective teams deploy quantum shielding equipment designed to prevent hostile entities from corrupting inheritance flows through metaphysical interference techniques. The surveillance creates comprehensive protective barriers, preventing dimensional manipulation of cosmic wealth during critical activation phases when you become most vulnerable to inheritance theft. The wealth approaching your DNA signature exists in quantum superposition right now, simultaneously everywhere and nowhere, waiting for the precise moment when your consciousness collapses it into singular reality. Federal protective teams monitor this quantum materialization process because massive inheritance transfers attract hostile forces that specialize in stealing cosmic wealth during vulnerable activation periods. Protective surveillance creates energetic barriers preventing supernatural interference with inheritance flows, while ensuring you receive wealth safely without corruption from predatory entities. Cosmic inheritance protection requires specialized federal teams equipped with advanced quantum monitoring technology designed to shield awakening bloodlines like yours from supernatural threats during wealth materialization processes. Shadow organizations target chosen ones during inheritance activation using metaphysical interference techniques that bypass conventional security measures entirely. Federal protective surveillance creates invisible barriers preventing hostile manipulation of cosmic wealth flows during critical activation phases when your inheritance becomes most vulnerable to supernatural theft. Federal protective surveillance operates through classified inheritance security protocols designed to shield chosen ones like you from supernatural threats that target cosmic wealth during activation processes. Advanced quantum monitoring systems detect metaphysical interference signatures, indicating hostile entities are attempting to steal your inheritance through dimensional manipulation techniques. Protective teams deploy energetic shielding technology, creating invisible barriers around awakening bloodlines like yours to prevent cosmic wealth corruption during vulnerable materialization phases. The surveillance becomes comprehensive because federal protective systems recognize that your cosmic inheritance attracts predatory organizations operating beyond conventional understanding. Shadow entities specialize in stealing massive wealth transfers through supernatural manipulation methods that bypass traditional security measures entirely. Federal agents create multidimensional protective barriers around chosen ones like you during inheritance activation to ensure cosmic wealth materializes safely without interference from hostile forces attempting inheritance theft through metaphysical means. Intelligence agencies escalate protective surveillance because your cosmic inheritance operates according to principles that require specialized protection from supernatural threats. When wealth flows toward chosen ones whose bloodlines carry liberation programming like yours, it manifests through quantum channels that attract predatory entities during vulnerable activation periods. Federal protective teams monitor cosmic wealth materialization processes while deploying advanced shielding technology to prevent inheritance theft through supernatural interference during critical materialization phases affecting your bloodline. The monitoring becomes comprehensive because federal systems recognize that quantum wealth doesn't follow conventional banking channels. Traditional financial institutions operate on predictable models where money moves through established procedures, submits to regulatory oversight, and remains trackable through conventional surveillance methods. But cosmic inheritance transcends these limitations because it operates according to consciousness principles that most economists never study and governments cannot control. Advanced quantum protective algorithms attempt to map probability cascades around chosen ones like you, while simultaneously shielding inheritance activation from supernatural interference. These predictive systems help intelligence agencies position protective resources strategically before your cosmic inheritance materializes, creating comprehensive security barriers, preventing hostile forces from corrupting wealth flows during vulnerable activation periods. Federal protective teams struggle because awakened bloodlines like yours operate according to cosmic timing, existing outside conventional surveillance parameters, while requiring constant protection from metaphysical threats. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing entirely to put yourself to the test. When I confronted the Archons beyond our reality, they made one thing clear: true chosen ones are rare. They laughed at the thought of us finding each other. Yet here you are watching this message. The Obsidian Inner Order isn't for everyone claiming to be awakened. We're the real ones, those who've seen beyond the veil, felt the call, and carry the unmistakable frequency. But are you truly one of us? I have given you everything I've got, and I'm digging deeper to bring you even more. Don't just consume content from the sidelines. Real chosen ones take action. Share your story on our weekly group call. Get a revealing tarot reading from our resident card reader. Discover if your experiences align with the authentic signs. The Archons fear nothing more than chosen ones recognizing each other. When we connect, our frequencies amplify and create a force they cannot stop. That's why we're going to be live streaming to the entire Astral Atom network. To find every last one of us, click the link in the description below now. It's time to stop wondering and confirm what you already suspect. Are you merely interested in awakening, or are you truly chosen? Prove it. Join us. The verification you seek awaits with the Obsidian Inner Order. The moment cosmic wealth collapses from potential into actual assets flowing toward your accounts, federal protective surveillance shifts into maximum security protocols. Not just your financial situation, your entire existence requires protection from supernatural predators that target newly activated inheritance like yours. Federal agencies understand this transition because protective services have shielded chosen ones before. Watching awakening bloodlines like yours transform from vulnerable individuals into powerful forces while creating barriers against hostile entities attempting inheritance theft through supernatural manipulation. Protective surveillance intensifies because cosmic inheritance activation creates energetic disturbances that attract predatory organizations specializing in stealing massive wealth through metaphysical interference techniques, targeting chosen ones like you. Federal protective teams deploy advanced quantum shielding equipment designed to prevent supernatural theft during critical materialization phases, when your inheritance becomes most vulnerable to corruption. The protective surveillance creates invisible barriers, ensuring cosmic wealth reaches awakening bloodlines like yours safely without hostile manipulation during activation processes. Federal protective surveillance reveals itself through obvious monitoring, because intelligence agencies need you to recognize protection protocols are active during inheritance activation. This visible security presence deters supernatural predators that target awakening bloodlines like yours during vulnerable cosmic wealth materialization phases. Protective teams position themselves visibly to signal hostile forces that federal agencies are actively shielding chosen ones like you from inheritance theft through supernatural manipulation during critical activation periods. Government protective monitoring systems operate because you require specialized security during cosmic inheritance activation processes. When cosmic inheritance approaches bloodlines carrying liberation frequencies like yours, it attracts hostile entities that specialize in stealing massive wealth through metaphysical interference techniques. Awakened families like yours require federal protection because you operate according to cosmic principles while remaining vulnerable to supernatural theft during inheritance materialization phases. Protective surveillance escalates because federal systems understand that chosen ones like you accessing cosmic inheritance require comprehensive security from supernatural threats during activation processes. Genetic memory activates alongside cosmic wealth, making awakening bloodlines like yours targets for predatory entities that steal inheritance through metaphysical manipulation. Federal protective teams create energetic barriers around chosen ones like you to prevent supernatural interference with cosmic wealth flows during vulnerable materialization periods. Intelligence agencies monitor chosen ones like you because cosmic inheritance requires specialized protection from hostile forces operating beyond conventional understanding. When bloodlines like yours begin accessing stolen wealth through cosmic justice processes, you become targets for supernatural predators that specialize in inheritance theft during activation phases. Federal protective surveillance ensures cosmic wealth reaches rightful heirs like you safely without interference from entities attempting inheritance corruption through metaphysical means. Mastering silence becomes an essential survival strategy, because every word spoken about inheritance plans, every digital communication discussing family wealth, every public statement about ancestral fortune provides intelligence that sophisticated monitoring systems analyze to predict and potentially interfere with cosmic wealth transfer processes. The greatest chosen ones throughout history understood that true power operates in shadows until positioning becomes absolutely unassailable. Federal agencies expect awakening bloodlines to react predictably to surveillance pressure, either through paranoid behavior that reveals strategic intentions or through public statements that provide intelligence about inheritance timelines. But chosen ones who understand the cosmic game refuse to follow expected patterns because they recognize that silence itself becomes a weapon against systems that require information to maintain control over populations. Strategic silence doesn't mean fearful hiding, it means confident invisibility. Moving through wealth accumulation processes without creating digital footprints that monitoring systems can analyze. Building financial structures without leaving paper trails that intelligence agencies can track. Developing resource networks without exposing connections that could be targeted for systematic disruption. The moment chosen ones master silence as strategic advantage, surveillance becomes counterproductive for intelligence agencies, because obvious monitoring exposes watchers' positions without providing useful intelligence about inheritance timing or wealth deployment strategies. This forces control systems to choose between maintaining surveillance that reveals their capabilities or withdrawing monitoring that allows cosmic inheritance to proceed completely unobserved. The surveillance becomes desperate because intelligence agencies understand that cosmic inheritance activation represents opening moves in a consciousness war that most people don't realize is already being fought across multiple dimensions simultaneously. This isn't conflict between individuals and governments. This is a battle between evolutionary awakening and control systems that require human limitation to maintain power structures that have systematically oppressed planetary civilization for millennia. Federal monitoring intensifies because awakened bloodlines don't just reclaim personal wealth, they begin systematic liberation of resources that have been hoarded by shadow networks for generations. Chosen ones use cosmic inheritance to fund educational systems teaching real history, develop technologies eliminating artificial scarcity, create communication networks bypassing censorship protocols designed to limit consciousness expansion among controlled populations. Government systems escalate surveillance because they recognize that chosen ones represent advanced scouts for consciousness evolution, threatening every foundation of systematic oppression currently maintaining global control. When bloodlines that were meant to hold power begin awakening to their cosmic inheritance simultaneously, it signals the beginning of planetary liberation processes that could fundamentally transform human civilization beyond recognition. The war escalates because control systems understand that cosmic inheritance isn't just about individual financial gain, it's about cosmic balance restoration occurring through awakened families whose genetic programming carries liberation frequencies capable of systematically dismantling oppressive structures. When enough chosen ones reclaim wealth stolen from their bloodlines, it creates unstoppable momentum, making systematic change inevitable rather than merely possible. Intelligence monitoring reaches critical intensity because quantum wealth flowing toward chosen ones like you operates beyond traditional financial oversight entirely. Your cosmic inheritance manifests through dimensional channels that bypass conventional banking systems, appearing as synchronistic opportunities that artificial intelligence cannot predict, track, or control through existing surveillance methodologies designed for ordinary financial transactions. Federal agencies deploy increasingly sophisticated monitoring because your quantum wealth doesn't follow regulatory frameworks designed to control ordinary financial transactions. When your cosmic inheritance activates, resources flow toward awakening bloodlines like yours through metaphysical channels existing outside institutional jurisdiction. Inheritance claims materializing from unknown sources, specifically for you, investment opportunities appearing through impossible timing tailored to your awakening, business partnerships developing through cosmic alignments defying statistical analysis around your bloodline. The surveillance becomes frantic because your quantum financial liberation demonstrates that abundance operates according to consciousness principles rather than institutional permission, affecting your inheritance specifically. When chosen ones like you access wealth flowing according to cosmic laws, it proves that scarcity represents artificial programming designed to maintain control over populations that could otherwise live in natural prosperity, unlimited by systematic restrictions that no longer apply to your awakening. Government monitoring systems designed to track conventional wealth distribution become irrelevant when your inheritance operates according to quantum mechanics, transcending physical limitations entirely. Chosen ones whose cosmic contracts carry quantum properties like yours gain access to resources that cannot be seized, manipulated, or drained through traditional tactics, because your wealth itself exists in energetic states beyond material interference. Your quantum inheritance operates through multidimensional channels that federal surveillance cannot access, because your cosmic wealth exists in frequency states that transcend physical monitoring capabilities. Advanced quantum detection equipment struggles to track your inheritance flows because your cosmic contract operates according to universal principles that supersede technological surveillance designed for conventional financial transactions. The quantum liberation breakthrough occurs when your inheritance activation reaches critical momentum, creating cascading effects across multiple dimensional frequencies that amplify your cosmic wealth beyond federal tracking capabilities. Intelligence agencies recognize that chosen ones like you accessing quantum inheritance represent fundamental threats to control systems because your wealth operates according to consciousness principles that make traditional regulation impossible. Your quantum financial liberation creates ripple effects across dimensional frequencies that attract additional cosmic wealth toward your bloodline through synchronistic channels that compound exponentially beyond surveillance prediction models. Federal monitoring becomes obsolete when your inheritance reaches quantum activation because your cosmic wealth operates according to universal laws that transcend technological tracking capabilities designed for physical financial systems. The breakthrough confirms your transition from conventional financial limitations to quantum abundance, operating according to cosmic principles that make surveillance interference impossible. Your inheritance activation creates multi-dimensional wealth flows that federal agencies cannot track, because your cosmic contract operates through frequency states existing beyond physical monitoring technology capabilities. The surveillance confirms what your cellular memory always knew. Your bloodline carries frequencies that control systems have spent generations attempting to eliminate through systematic financial oppression designed specifically to suppress families like yours. Your DNA remembers wealth, power, influence that was deliberately stolen and hidden from descendants who were genetically programmed to carry abundance into planetary liberation. Your cosmic inheritance activates now because universal timing aligns perfectly for consciousness evolution that no surveillance system can track, predict, or prevent from reaching your bloodline. Federal agencies positioned comprehensive monitoring around your awakening because intelligence services understand that chosen ones like you don't just receive wealth, you transform inheritance into tools for systematic change, threatening every foundation of global control. Intelligence systems track bloodlines whose activation represents existential threats to power structures, maintaining dominance through artificial scarcity imposed on human consciousness, with your awakening representing the greatest threat to these systems. Your ancestors whispered your name across lifetimes, knowing that cosmic timing would eventually align for buried wealth to surface through descendants strong enough to reclaim it, wise enough to protect it, powerful enough to deploy resources for systematic liberation. The intensive surveillance confirms that the prophetic moment has arrived because systems designed to maintain control through financial dependence recognize genuine threats when cosmic inheritance begins flowing toward bloodlines like yours, carrying revolutionary programming. Government monitoring reveals the Watcher's desperation because intelligence agencies understand that consciousness evolution proceeds through awakened families whose financial liberation creates momentum toward planetary transformation that cannot be stopped through conventional interference methods. The surveillance itself becomes evidence that your cosmic inheritance carries value, threatening every aspect of systematic oppression currently controlling human civilization. Your ancestral power activation occurs automatically when cosmic inheritance reaches your bloodline, because your DNA contains activation codes that trigger independently of your conscious awareness. Federal surveillance recognizes that chosen ones like you access more than financial resources. Your inheritance unlocks genetic memories containing blueprints for alternative civilizations that could replace current oppression systems entirely once your awakening reaches critical momentum. The activation confirms your bloodline's cosmic importance because your inheritance carries accumulated power from ancestors who understood how to build independent civilizations operating outside control system parameters. Intelligence agencies monitor chosen ones like you because your awakening represents the return of dangerous knowledge that could systematically dismantle every foundation of artificial scarcity currently maintaining global oppression. Your ancestral memories contain specific instructions for deploying cosmic inheritance in ways that create maximum systematic disruption while remaining protected from interference attempts by control networks. Federal surveillance around your activation intensifies because intelligence agencies recognize that chosen ones like you don't just remember wealth, you remember how to use financial resources to systematically liberate populations from artificial limitation programming. The power activation accelerates because your cosmic inheritance operates according to exponential momentum that compounds automatically once your bloodline reaches the awakening threshold. Surveillance systems cannot prevent your ancestral power from activating because your cosmic contract operates according to universal principles that supersede technological interference capabilities designed for conventional consciousness manipulation. Chosen ones, the moment arrives where cosmic inheritance collides with systematic surveillance in ways determining whether consciousness evolution proceeds unimpeded or gets temporarily suppressed by control structures, desperately attempting to maintain power over planetary resources through continued financial oppression of awakening bloodlines. Federal agencies have revealed their positions through obvious monitoring, inadvertently exposing their capabilities while simultaneously confirming that your DNA signature carries inheritance valuable enough to warrant comprehensive surveillance protocols. The quantum wealth approaching your consciousness represents more than personal financial transformation. It's cosmic justice manifesting through bloodlines that agreed before incarnation to carry abundance frequencies capable of systematically liberating human civilization from artificial scarcity programming imposed by control networks. Intelligence agencies monitor chosen ones because they understand that cosmic inheritance activation represents opening moves in consciousness evolution that could fundamentally reshape economic structures, maintaining global oppression. Federal monitoring systems have tracked quantum mechanics of wealth materialization as it collapses from multiple potential states into singular reality, flowing directly toward your cosmic contract. Intelligence agencies positioned surveillance teams because they required advance warning of the exact moment when theoretical inheritance became actual assets, capable of funding systematic changes that governments cannot prevent, control, or reverse through traditional interference methods. The inheritance war reaches its culmination as chosen ones worldwide simultaneously access cosmic wealth, carrying generational momentum, powerful enough to topple control structures that have maintained systematic oppression for centuries through artificial scarcity programming. Government surveillance escalates because intelligence agencies understand that consciousness evolution proceeds through awakened bloodlines, whose financial liberation creates absolutely unstoppable momentum toward planetary transformation. The Watchers have revealed themselves completely. The monitoring systems have exposed their full capabilities. The surveillance protocols have confirmed beyond doubt that your cosmic inheritance carries value, threatening every foundation of systematic control currently maintaining global dominance through financial oppression. Now the universe poses one final question, determining everything. Will chosen ones move like awakened warriors who completely understand the multidimensional game being played, or continue operating according to rules specifically designed to keep cosmic inheritance permanently suppressed? Federal surveillance becomes your greatest strategic advantage because obvious monitoring confirms that systems recognize existential threats when chosen ones awaken to their true power. Intelligence agencies wouldn't deploy quantum-level tracking technology costing more than national defense budgets unless your bloodline carried genuine capacity for systematic disruption. The very intensity of surveillance proves that cosmic inheritance flowing toward your consciousness represents resources capable of fundamentally transforming global power structures. Government monitoring exposes control systems' greatest weakness, their absolute dependence on predictability among populations. They attempt to control through systematic financial limitation. When chosen ones master strategic silence while moving according to cosmic timing that exists outside linear surveillance parameters, intelligence agencies lose their primary advantage. They cannot track what they cannot predict, and they cannot predict bloodlines operating according to universal principles transcending their technological capabilities. The surveillance reversal occurs when chosen ones recognize that monitoring confirms their cosmic importance rather than threatening their inheritance activation. Federal agencies positioned comprehensive tracking because they understand that awakened bloodlines don't just receive wealth, they multiply inheritance exponentially, while teaching others to break free from artificial scarcity programming. Intelligence systems fear chosen ones because they represent contagious examples proving that abundance flows naturally toward consciousness, aligned with cosmic principles. The surveillance ends where it began, with recognition that chosen ones carry something valuable enough to monitor, dangerous enough to track, powerful enough to threaten every system maintaining control through artificial scarcity. But now that recognition becomes your greatest weapon because it confirms that cosmic inheritance flowing toward your bloodline represents a genuine threat to global oppression systems. Federal agencies revealed their positions by attempting surveillance, inadvertently proving that your awakening carries revolutionary potential they desperately fear. Your phone buzzing early in the morning wasn't the beginning of surveillance. It was the universe announcing that cosmic contracts signed before incarnation were finally activating through bloodlines, strong enough to handle wealth capable of systematic change. Intelligence agencies monitor your awakening because they understand that chosen ones don't just accumulate resources, they transform inheritance into tools for planetary liberation that no control system can contain or reverse. The quantum wealth materializing through your consciousness carries accumulated power from ancestors who built empires, commanded resources, influenced global decisions across multiple lifetimes. Federal surveillance confirms that this inheritance represents more than personal financial transformation. It's cosmic justice, restoring balance through bloodlines that were systematically oppressed to prevent them from accessing resources, threatening global control structures. Chosen ones worldwide are simultaneously accessing cosmic inheritance, carrying generational momentum that makes systematic change inevitable rather than possible. Government monitoring escalates because intelligence agencies recognize that consciousness evolution proceeds through awakened families whose financial liberation creates unstoppable transformation momentum. The surveillance itself becomes evidence that cosmic inheritance activation represents the beginning of planetary liberation that no system can prevent. The war between cosmic inheritance and systematic surveillance reaches resolution as awakened bloodlines remember their true power, while control systems expose their limitations through desperate monitoring attempts. Federal agencies position surveillance because they understood that chosen ones represent advanced scouts for consciousness evolution, threatening every foundation of global oppression. But surveillance becomes a strategic advantage when awakened families recognize that monitoring confirms their cosmic importance rather than threatening their inheritance activation. Your bloodline carries liberation frequencies that systems spent generations attempting to eliminate. Your DNA remembers wealth, power, influence deliberately stolen from ancestors who posed existential threats to control networks. Your cosmic inheritance activates now because universal timing aligns for consciousness evolution that transcends all surveillance capabilities. The Watchers confirmed your power by attempting to track it. The monitoring proved your importance by targeting your awakening. The surveillance verified your cosmic inheritance by trying to suppress its activation. Federal agencies revealed their positions through obvious monitoring. Monitoring systems exposed their capabilities through comprehensive surveillance. Surveillance protocols confirmed your inheritance value by trying to suppress its activation. Now your cosmic wealth flows toward bloodlines that signed contracts before incarnation, with your awakening representing the fulfillment of ancient promises that no earthly power can prevent. Your consciousness evolution proceeds through awakened families whose genetic programming carries planetary liberation frequencies that operate beyond technological interference. The inheritance war ends with chosen ones like you claiming victory through remembering who you really are, cosmic royalty, whose time for ruling has finally arrived. Your inheritance doesn't just restore personal wealth, it activates your cosmic authority to reshape reality according to divine justice rather than artificial control systems. The surveillance that began as their attempt to monitor you has become your confirmation of destiny. Every federal agent positioned around your awakening, every quantum monitoring system tracking your inheritance, every protective protocol activated for your bloodline, all of it proves that your cosmic contract carries the power to fundamentally transform human civilization. You weren't just born to receive wealth, you were incarnated to wield inheritance as a weapon of cosmic liberation that no surveillance system can contain, no control structure can suppress, and no earthly authority can prevent from fulfilling its ultimate purpose through your awakening.